Howdy, 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 and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me here on this Sunday evening. I guess we can call it Eclipse Eve. I guess that's what we'll call it. Mama and I are getting ready. We're leaving out very early. We're making our way on over to Buffalo, New York. We're going to meet up with our old pal Clearwater Chad and going to do a live stream from Buffalo with the solar eclipse going on tomorrow. So I will not be doing my normal Monday night live stream. I'll be going live Sunday at 3 p.m. from Buffalo, New York during the solar eclipse. That's going to be right there, smack dab in the epicenter of how it's going to be. Going to get to meet up with our buddy Clearwater Chad there and have a good time. Enjoy some of the sights, sounds, and food of Buffalo. So, without further ado, let's bring in our pal Clearwater Chad. How we doing, buddy?
Good, Poe. How are you?
And what have you got for us tonight?
All right. The weather in Clearwater, Buffalo, Poe is 52 degrees. We got 0% precip going. The wind is at 8. Roscoe advises from the Sky Chopper that it's 39% humid, Poe.
I told that dog. All right. So you remember our excursion down to Clearwater and the fun times we had down there. And one of the people that we got to meet up with was this spunky little, sounds like she could be from somewhere else originally, but I don't know, how accents go around here and everything. We had a great time down there, didn't we?
Yeah, we sure did, Poe.
You still got your body, Thetan?
Yeah, he's not with me right now, but I have him.
Yeah, I keep mine right here by the microphone. But folks, while we were down there, we met up with a great group of people who are down there almost every night doing First Amendment auditing of the flag and of the Fort Harrison down there in Clearwater, Florida. And one of those people just absolutely spunky. I had one of the other folks that I really enjoyed hanging out with down there. On our second night, there were only 2 people that could make it out. And one of those was Lori Plays. But the other was this little spunky lady that we got to meet the first night, and her name is Feral Cheryl. How we doing, Cheryl?
Hello, good evening. Very good, thank you. How are you gentlemen tonight?
Doing good. As you see, you got the cowboy Thetan sitting right here for you. So
his twins right here. I
now,
got my own goldenrod. Yes, you have a goldenrod one. Yeah, so that's okay. Super SP special.
All right, that's what we need. Let's see here. We got a few people here watching tonight. Let's see. We've got Born Ancient, and man, do I know how that feels. How about this one right here? You know who this fella is?
That's my broski, Dustin Soda Fountain.
You guys have done quite a few audits down there together.
I love Dustin. Everyone go sub to him. He's hilarious. He's so fun to stream with.
Great guy. I had a great time talking with him down there, and I thought he was just a real stand-up person. Let's see. Laura Waldy, one of my fantastic mods. Laura's in here tonight. God's Angel. Some rapscallion named Clearwater Chad. Go Gerst. Eat More Pizzas here. What's up, Eat More?
Hi, Pizza.
Quirk Alapagus.
Quirky say hi, Quirk.
Howdy. Becca Jean. Grace and Faith for All. Thank you. Nana Boss Audits and Investigations says hi, Poe and Cheryl.
Hello, Nana Boss.
Let's see. Clearwater, Erie, Pennsylvania's here. Our old pal Chitza from Balahama is here. Beyond Jehovah's Witnesses. Sarah Bauman, Spwag. Make sure I'm not. Oh, Mischief Managed is here. Will's Pickle Jar Scar. Also known as Crystal. Let's make sure. Miss with Oldie. And make sure I'm not missing anything there, because I always do. And some people are like, you didn't call my name out. And I'm like, sometimes it gets a bit hairy in the chat trying to catch up with everything. Jency, this is way nicer than the chat I just left. Ooh, well, do tell, Jency. What chat did you just leave?
I was looking at the chat just now. Sorry, yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
I have a feeling I know which one it might be. Chad let me in on a live stream that was going on. So Amanda Mangles, first time making actual live. Awesome, Amanda. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Love your videos. The fact you're helping out in the SPTV world. Thank you so very much. Oh, Mastiff Mom is here. Chris on the drums, Bruce Contasesi, Lisa Robinson with that beautiful lab in the photograph there. If you don't know, Cheryl, if they're putting their fur babies in there, at one point or another, they're getting on the. I'm putting it up there.
I agree.
Oh boy, yeah, I saw a couple seconds of that, and that was interesting. Did you see what was going on there, Cheryl?
I wasn't watching, but I started getting messages right before I came on here, and I'm like, oh, I got to go check on that later. So yeah, I will have to catch up. But something's happening. So if anyone can inform, that would be great.
Yeah,
because I love Ian. Ian, he's quite open with his
viewpoint,
anti-Scientology-ness. So yeah, his viewpoint. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a few minutes of it, and first thing I did was I texted Aaron. I'm like, "Do you see what's going on here?" And in general Aaronness, he isn't even concerned with it at all. So, but I'm just like, I'm just one of those. I'm not going to put up with somebody talking smack about a pal. McMacaleese, howdy, and look at that fur baby in the photo there. So, all right. So, who is Steamboat Cheryl?
Well, she's a crazy chick.
There we go.
I'm gonna get a pair of Mickey Mouse hands, and I'm gonna do a little steamboat night just for you, Poe.
All right.
Steamboat.
I couldn't help it when we were down there in Clearwater, and you came out with that hat on. I was like, oh my goodness, that's just the Steamboat Willie right there.
It was like Steamboat Willie, huh? Totally.
So I made sure, I was like, I gotta say something about that because that's just too much. So
I know. Well, Laurie and I are coming up with something.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man, Lori's got some pipes on her, don't she?
She's got such a beautiful voice. And then if you make her go petty, you're gonna hear her. And she's gonna stand there. I have a little decibel counter. What did we get up to? 120 something. She's got pipes. So yeah, I like going out with her.
Yeah, see, because that second night, Chad and I were there, and we came around the front of the Fort Harrison. The minute we went under that awning, they started playing copywritten music over the speakers. So I had to go mute. And when I got on the other side, that's when we saw you guys. We made our way back, and they'd stopped playing music. And I thought, well, that's really interesting because they started playing it the minute we stepped under it, and they stopped it the minute we stepped out. And then we met up with you guys, and Lori's like, oh, they don't do that with me anymore because I start singing Wavy Davy's Fake Space Navy song to them.
Yes, she does. Well, two nights ago, I got my first strike. Because we were standing right in front of the door playing they were playing the music really loud, and you could tell it was something, not just your regular elevator music that they played. So
right,
we're like, yeah, we're gonna get a strike, and we did, but we took care of it, had it muted or erased or whatever, and move on. But they've been trying that one.
Oh yeah, I'm having a heck of a time right now. I did an interview with a member of a very popular heavy metal band, and he gave me written permission, got me all the paperwork that I need to include clips from their videos and their songs into the interview. And I keep getting notifications from YouTube. They won't allow me to post it because of copyright violations. And I've sent them in all the paperwork at least 20 times now. And I can't get this interview up, and it's a couple months old. And the guy's like, when's an interview going to be? And I'm like, I can't get YouTube to allow me to put it up. And I keep showing him all the stuff. He's like, this is crazy.
That's ridiculous, especially if you have authorization. I mean, what do you need? What else do you need?
From the person who wrote the music.
The music itself.
So, but yeah, he and I have both been working back and forth trying to get something so that YouTube won't give us the copyright strike on it. Because as well as I do, you get 3 strikes and you're out with that stuff. You lose your channel and everything. So got to be very careful.
Right. And I'm trying to get monetized right now. I'm not even trying to lose my channel. Not yet, at least.
Yeah. Here's something I didn't know about that. You guys have to shut down your Wi-Fi when you're at Flag.
Well, that does help. The thing is, your phone's going to run out a lot quicker. Wait, does it? No, I'm not in Wi-Fi out there. Wait, what?
Well, I think what it's going to be is more like a matter of they're able to try to hack your phones.
Right. We should be using a VPN when we're out there. When we log into YouTube out there or StreamYard, we should be using a VPN. That
Okay.
really is. But yeah, I haven't. That's why I need to get monetized so I can get all these things because everything costs money.
Well, I've got a like with me, I shut my Wi-Fi off when I live stream through my phone, and unless I'm someplace where I'm using that Wi-Fi to bounce off of. But down there, there's, you're bouncing between so many different Wi-Fi locations, it's impossible to actually lock in. So I just shut mine off. But someone had said something to me after that first night. They're like, "Hey, you made sure to shut your Wi-Fi off," and I'm like, "Well, it was already off. Why?" And they were explaining to me about the possibility of being hacked through the Wi-Fi system. So,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, they hacked my stuff. They're just going to see a lot of kitty cat videos and.
That's what I was about to say. I mean, you got my channel, but you get into my phone, all you're going to see is pictures of Roscoe, my trips, alligators, and snakes.
Right.
So,
There's not a lot of skeletons in there. There's just a lot of stupid stuff in mine.
I'm about as homebody as they come. I like to spend my time with my family. I like to spend my time doing DIY stuff around the house. So for me, I don't drink. I don't go out and party. None of that stuff. Not anymore. We talked about a lot of that stuff last night. But I mean, I just don't, I don't get out and do anything crazy. I don't do anything that's going to get me in trouble. And I
watch people on the internet do that now.
Yeah.
That's what I do. Yeah. I watch other people do it.
Well, I mean, there's so many people who do the lives that, that's their whole purpose is going out and spreading chaos when they're doing them. Let's see. I have to keep an eye on my chats because I've had quite a bit of trolls coming in, and Laura does a great job. So does Miss Sunrise Dawn's here. That's not one of my other. Up in
Hey, you got trolls. That means you made it.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, they got me the other night with one, and what they've been doing lately is they've been putting in super chats. And then they're going to ask me these absolutely absurd questions, and the other night they put one in that was a racist comment.
Whoa.
And thankfully I've taken so many blows to the head that when I read comments off, I do it slowly. I've been rolling pretty good with, I was very into the moment on something I'd been talking on. And I came back and I was checking out the chats and I put it up there because it was a super and got to the end of it. And I'm like, "Oh, you got me with that one, didn't you?" So, but yeah, it was, but the funny thing is that I had read it so slow, it didn't come out the way they wanted it. So,
right. So you fluffed it. Yeah.
And then at the end, Poe's like, "Thanks for the $5, buddy."
Right.
Yeah.
I think I was watching. I think I was crocheting, but I think I heard you say that. That's what it was. That's so rude.
Yeah.
It was something. I'll tell you afterwards what they said.
You got that $5. So.
Oh, well, here's a question you might know. This is from Beyond Jehovah's Witnesses. Aaron says that Jehovah's Witnesses do their preaching close to the flag land base in Clearwater. Is that true?
Yes, bless their little cotton socks. Bless their little Jesus loving hearts. They have this like a little shelf thing with their magazines on it.
Really?
That awful Hightower magazine or whatnot they have. And like 2 or 3 of them stand out there and they will come and talk to you, but they're extremely very, they're very fundamental. This group.
Yes.
And I know too much about them. I've had a lot of JW friends. I know too much about them. So I try and walk away from them because I don't want to say things to them that are going to come out of my face. But yes, there's usually a little group, not every day, but most days out there right in front of the Coachman building, not the Coachman building, the bank building on the corner of Cleveland. You know where the downtown
Okay.
pizza, all those little restaurants are, and the Starbucks.
Yep.
They usually stand on that corner, and it's like, honey, you're not going to get a lot going here. Everyone here is a cult like penguin. It's not going to work.
Oh yeah. And folks, I have just put it into the chat. If you haven't already, get your hind end over to Feral Cheryl's channel and make sure you subscribe. Cheryl is very close to getting her monetization on her channel. And, you know, we want to see everybody who's in the SPTV family succeed. I've said it a million times. I follow the same belief that Aaron Smith Levin does on this. The more the merrier. All right. And if Cheryl blows up and gets 22,000 subscribers tomorrow, yay for Cheryl. That's the thing is that one of us succeeds, we all succeed. So that's
right.
why we need to be supporting each other on these things. Now, is that a Union Jack I see behind you?
Yep.
I knew it. I knew there was something there. Is that
I know with this accent. I was born in Washington, D.C.
Was you
I
really?
was born in our nation's capital.
So tell me how this came about. The how this accent did and everything.
Scientology happened.
Really?
My mom's English, my dad's Scottish. They met in England. My dad was a musician. He was on the ships traveling around with bands and stuff. He was just drinking away and traveling around having a good old time on ships. And then he met my mom. Well, he heard about Scientology. He met my mom. They both got married and they moved to Washington, D.C. because he had an opportunity. Liza Minnelli's manager, he knew him and gave him an opportunity in Washington, D.C. playing in bands. My dad has played in the rotunda of the Capitol building a bunch of times.
Wow.
So he did a lot of, just playing around in Washington, D.C. And most of the day he would spend at the DC founding org at Scientology. My mom was stuck in the house. She wasn't allowed to go anywhere, talk to anyone, do anything. She was very bored. So he said to her, well, why don't I give you a baby? And he said, I just wanted to give her a baby so she would have a wee bit of havingness. So when I write my book, that's what I'm going to call it. I'm just a wee bit of havingness. So my mom, he kept pushing it on her. As a family, whatever, you have to go down and do this. You got to do this. This is good for the planet. This is good for you, good for whatever. And my mom never used to suffer fools much. So she went down there and she got on the cans and she came home and she's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not wasting all that money on that. So my mom just really refused to join.
Okay.
So the org convinced my dad that my mom and I were SPs and he had to disconnect from us if he wanted to stay in Scientology. And that's what he chose. He came home one day with 2 flight tickets out of the blue, out of nowhere. 2 tickets, plane tickets, get back to England. I'll help you pack. And my mom was 27 on her own with a kid like, what? What happened? He just pulled the rug right out of her and he broke my mom. From there on out, she was just a mess. So mom and I went back to England. So I was raised in London. And then when I was 8, she met a Spanish gentleman. We moved to Spain. So I speak Spanish with a Spanish accent, with a Castilian accent. And then at the age of 21, I got sick of everyone, my whole entire family, because they're a bunch of dysfunctional nuts. And that's the secular side. That isn't the Scientology side. That was just my mom's side, the regular side. So at the age of 21, I came to America and I was only going to hang out here like 6 months or whatever, just hang around America a bit, just see it. And then once I got there, I arrived in Laguna Beach. And I looked around at the beach and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going back to Kilburn High Street. I'm not going back to grotty, gray, miserable London. There's no way. And that's it. I ended up staying here.
To Benidorm.
I could have. I still can. That's still a thought.
Well, having been to the UK, and Scotland and Ireland. You know, I liked it, but I've never understood being able to stand that weather there. It's amazing to me.
I moved back to Scotland in 2015 for 2 years. I came back in 2017. I couldn't wait to get back to America.
Right.
I couldn't wait. I mean, we're that far from Norway. It's freezing. It's freezing. My birthday is in August, and usually in August, in the middle of the planet, it's kind of nice.
Mhm.
Not in Scotland. It was pissing down with rain the whole day.
We went up into the Highlands, and I could not believe how absolutely miserable it was up there. It was just miles of rocky outcrops that formed, I guess you'd call them mountains, but in between it was just this long grass fields, and it was cold, just above freezing, but it was coming down rain constantly.
Constantly, it rains constantly. And the other thing you don't see when you're looking at that beautiful picture of Scotland, like you said, those craggy mountains and all the greenery, and what you're not feeling is the gale force Arctic wind that's blowing up your skirt.
Oh my God.
It goes right up the back of your neck. And
you certainly ain't going swimming in that ocean up there, that's for sure. Oh my gosh.
My niece does. I have a niece that lives there. She grew up there. She goes out in the Forth of Firth. I'm like, what is wrong? I want to bring her here to Florida. I think she's going to die in the heat. I don't think she'll get out of the plane and just poof. Yeah, I don't know if she'll make it one day here. No, I can never.
Manage wants to know, did you ever see the pageant of the Masters?
Yes, I did. And it is incredible. It's such an incredible show. I've seen it from the very back of the amphitheater, from the very front, and from the middle.
What is the pageant of the Masters?
Okay, so basically what it is every year, Laguna's done this for years. It's this show, and they open the curtain, and you just see, it looks like there's this huge life-size, like Van Gogh on stage. Okay, wow. So it looks like there's an actual Van Gogh, but it's real people standing there, like trying to stay still.
Yeah, I've seen that kind of stuff before, yeah.
And they're all painted weird and all, but it works. And at the end, they usually bring out like an Art Deco vase, some lady like on a vase. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And the guy who used to narrate the whole show was the guy that did it's great, the Tony voice, the Tony the Tiger voice. He used to do the narration, and then he passed away a couple of years, so they did a big thing for him. But yeah, the pageant of the Masters is, it's a great, great show. I saw it a couple of times. I'm very lucky.
Now, how tall are you?
5'7".
You're 5'7"?
Well, maybe I've shrunk a bit, but
I was about to say, how tall is Lori then?
Lori, I think she's a bit taller than me. She's definitely like a 5'8". She's taller than me, yeah.
Yeah, when I was surprised, you're so spunky and you're just, you're a firecracker. And then I met you and I was like, she's so tiny. So
ding, ding, ding. I'm a little flea.
Let's see here. Sarah Bauman. I lived in Aberdeen, Scotland when I was 8 years old. I totally understand about the rain. You just got trudged out there with everyone else. Beautiful countryside. Yep.
Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. And then also, like that one clear picture of the mountains, you only get that one day a year because usually there's low clouds, it's all misty and it's raining. You can't see anything for miles because it's just...
We went to one part where it was literally you were in the clouds.
Yeah, you're in the cloud.
Yeah.
You're in a cloud.
And, I'm sitting there because I've got family that live in Scotland and in the UK. Actually, my name, the Poe name, comes from back in medieval times, back before they had writing and all that the general people could do. For a bar or a pub, they put a carving of a peacock in front of it. But my understanding is back there in that kind of dialect, they called it the Pocock. And so the owner of the pub was called a Poe. And that's where my family name actually came from.
Oh, so the conversation we had last night makes sense now. Okay, yeah.
But you know that but you know, I'm up there with family, and I'm talking to them, and I'm like, wow, I just don't. I understand why the Vikings made sure they got out to every other place on the planet they could get to. I said,
Yes.
and they were just like, no, we love it here. We absolutely love it. This is our home. And I understand. I've got family that live up in northern Michigan, and they can't stand the summer. They can't wait for fall
Right.
and winter to hit. So I
Right.
understand it. I just can't. These cold winters are absolutely killing me. So
Yeah, I don't know if I could do Michigan or Buffalo. My friend, she's in the chat. She grew up in Buffalo, born in Britain. No, I couldn't do it.
who's that?
God's Angel. She's in
Oh,
the
okay.
chat. She was earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
She comes from Buffalo, and just watching your videos, you're standing and it's snowing, and I'm like, I need a jacket. Just
It's funny
watching.
because as much as I love visiting Florida, I mean, in my opinion, that would be too hot for me.
See, and you weren't even here when it was
Yeah,
steamy. When it gets
right.
steamy, it's horrible. It really is.
Do you remember when they opened the Harry Potter thing at Universal? We were there like a month after that opened, and we were there in the middle of July. I think it was actually like July 7th or 8th that we got there.
Oh,
And we got out of the car we stayed at it was a resort with a water park in it. And we got out of the car and we're like, holy crap. It was 103 degrees. And we were just like, whoa, this is bad. We went in, set the air conditioner in the room on nuclear, and went out, and we went over to Universal. We came back. We got back around noon from Universal, and the wife was like, you can take the kids back. I'm just going to take a dirt nap right here in the hotel room and try to cool down. So yeah, we spent a lot of my childhood down in Florida, so I'm quite
really?
used to the heat down there. But 30 plus years here in Michigan, it's certainly you get a whole different reading on how to handle heat and cold. That's for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But I tell you what,
Since I lived in California and Florida now,
Mhm.
going back to England, I'm like, I can't live like that. I choose not to. I can't. It's too cold. I cannot live like that. I don't want to wear that many clothes.
Well,
I want to be able to see my arms.
Look who's here.
Sarasota Jerry.
Hey,
What a cool guy. What a cool
Yeah.
guy.
Jerry is the salt of the earth. He's the best, and he's one of the funniest humans on the planet.
Yeah.
He
Now,
is so funny.
Is Jerry's channel up and running yet? I know he
Yes,
was.
it is.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So if anyone could go sub to Sarasota Jerry too, that would be great. He is a really good guy.
to sweeten the pot, folks, I am sub to Sarasota Jerry and Feral Cheryl. So if that sweetens the pot any,
A lot.
Oh my gosh. Have you seen the one with him in the wig?
Oh, that one. That when he did Stephanie. That okay.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
was up. It was 2:00 in the morning. I don't know when he put that up really late at night, and I was awake at 2:00 in the morning, and it came on my thing, and I just about fell off the bed. I was laughing so hard.
Well, Jerry, you
And
got
then,
a
of
new
course,
subscriber now. That's for sure.
Natalie had it on the next morning, and Marilyn, and oh my god, it
Oh
that
my
was
gosh.
funny.
I got to go back and I got to watch that. And that one was too much. Absolutely too much to see him in that wig. My goodness. And speaking,
Headley doesn't have a mustache.
and
Okay,
folks,
yeah.
if you haven't, I know I put it up there every time, but make sure you get over and check out Dustin Soda Fountain. I want to thank so many of you that went over with me the other night, and we did a rave on Dustin's channel to help boost up his rates and everything. What great guy.
Yeah,
Let's see. Rat City Princess. Yay. I caught me a po live. Thank you, hon. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, somebody was talking about the Ian Rafalco thing that's going on over there. I'm going to catch up with that later and check it out. It's I don't like nitpicking, taking bits and pieces of interviews and things like that. With me, I try to, if I'm going to put an interview on, I'm going to put the whole interview on, and I'm going to comment on it as I go, or I'm going to go through and I'm going to pull out high points of an interview, or like in Stephanie's case, I went through and I showed her actual entire blog that she'd done about Aaron Smith Levin. But from what I saw over there, they were, hopefully he ran the entire interview and didn't just go through and bit and piece what he wanted through that. And the thing is I've had respect for Ian. I thought I liked the guy. I don't know why he's coming out against Aaron Smith Levin now. It's very interesting.
Okay, wait, what? Is that what's happening?
That's what it appears to be, that he's coming out against Aaron, and he's taking apart the interview with Andrew Gold that Aaron did from his studio.
Okay. See, this is where I'm going to make differentiations and discernment.
Yep. 1 second, you guys go ahead and talk. I got to grab Roscoe real quick here. He's going to tear the door down.
I couldn't watch that whole thing. Andrew Gold. He's good at what he does, and to me, I think he's a bit clickbaity.
Yeah, he definitely is.
Right, he is.
Yep.
And I can't get on the whole Harry and Meghan thing, and he is on Harry and Meghan's ass the whole time. And to me, he's a bit clouty and a bit.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I don't watch him or even Chris Shelton anymore.
No, I can't.
Even though Chris Shelton was on my channel earlier today, folks. If you want to watch that video, not the real Chris Shelton, but it's still a good video, folks.
So that interview for me was difficult to watch. That's Aaron, speaking out on things that we don't usually hear because he doesn't get political. And I don't care about people's political stances at SPTV. Yep. So I did try to watch it. And the questions when I heard, oh puppy, when I heard every question I asked Andrew, I'm like, he's just looking for clicky likes.
Who, Andrew Gold?
Yeah.
I'm not. I had tried.
I don't know. I just feel like he went a bit too in on Aaron, and Aaron's just honest. Aaron's just going to sit there and spill his guts, and he's just going to say what's in his heart. He's just going to speak out.
Aaron.
So
Aaron puts it out there. I tried to talk to Andrew Gold back when my channel first started taking off, and I got some really, really interesting responses from him. And basically I just gave me the feeling of, you're just not big enough for me to deal with, was the kind of thing I got from it. Questioning
a bit of a right.
If I'm going to consider bringing you on my channel and talking to you, you're going to have this, and this as the basic equipment that I'm going to allow with it. And I'm just like, the interviews way back in my email, I just saw it the other day. But yeah, he, I basically got the feeling that I wasn't big enough, or I wasn't important enough to be part of his, what he was doing.
Man. Well, who knew? Yeah. See, I'm not a big fan of him. Bless. I'm not. I've tried. I tried watching him, and I just can't get through it. It's too. He tries to, and he even said it in the video. He goes, now what I'm trying to do with this heretics channel is just piss off my friends. He's just trying to poke his friends with woke, and just with this language that upsets some people, gets some people, whatever. He's just trying to see who he can upset, and it's just aggravating.
Sandy Roscoe does have his own channel. It's called the Poe on the Go Shorts. So
nice.
He's so cute. How old is he?
Roscoe is just over 2 years old. He's going to be 3 this July.
He's so well behaved.
Oh, he is right now. This is how he does. For some reason, this dog knows when he's on camera, and he goes into this, I'm just going to be a zombie kind of thing. So I have to catch him off guard for the shorts that I do of him. So there's so much mess going on right now. And there's just seemed to be so much of it. He's going to go back to his bed under the desk here. Seems to, it's almost like taking sides. And the thing is that I'm trying, I'm going to point out if someone on our side, that what we would consider our side,
Right.
does something I don't like, I'm going to point it out, or I'm going to at least call it out, or I'm going to have a talk with them. If they refuse to have to talk to me about it, then yeah, I'm going to have to put it out here. But I'm going to do the same over there. But I've been trying to start curving my content to where I want to start being, I want to be without being negative about either side or positive about either side. Let's just be SPTV. I'm going to start trying to give you the tools to start doing the things that you need. And I'm not only going to do that, I'm not just going to walk it, I'm going to talk it. So that was the whole point of making my way down to Clearwater with Chad, so that we could get down there and actually join in with the First Amendment auditing going on down there. Trying to get the funds together so that I can get over to Los Angeles and then Denver, hopefully up to Portland, and then into Chicago, and of course going to be doing Detroit as well. And I just want, my thing is I want to provide the other people who want to do this. I tell you what, I put that dog down 2 seconds and he finds the one thing in this room he should not be chewing on. My goodness. Yeah, he's so well behaved. We've got the kids were over tonight. Every Sunday night we have dinner with our kids, and afterwards our daughter goes home a little bit early and our son stays over and he plays backgammon and games with mama while I'm doing the live streams. And so we had to sit down tonight and actually write out a schedule so they could keep coming over here and checking on Roscoe while we're gone, because it's going to be a fun time. So, all right. So, going back to who is Feral Cheryl,
Yes.
what got you to Florida, and then what got you into doing the First Amendment auditing and doing the SPTV kind of stuff?
Well, I came to Florida 4 years ago, middle of the pandemic, because my dad called me, and I was kind of in a homeless situation, bouncing from place to place, didn't have anywhere stable to live. And he called me and he said, "I'm a bit goofy. Do you think you can come and look after me?" And I'm like, aye.
Have you ever seen the television show Still Game from the BBC?
I love it. I love it so much. It's funny.
I've watched it through probably 4 times now. And that was when you started doing that, I was like, oh, there we go, right back to it. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that show. No, Scottish TV is really funny if you can understand them.
Yeah. Mischief Managed Cheryl, your Stephanie Short was hilarious.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for that super chat there. But yeah, once you hit that brogue, I was just like, oh, there we go. So
I'm not really good at it. I'm not, but my dad still got that very strong Scottish accent. And some people look at me after he says something like to translate, because they're like, what did he just say? He's been here like 60 years. It's funny.
Oh, believe me, when we started watching Still Game, if it wasn't for the subtitles, we couldn't have understood that show. So
right, because there's way of saying things that don't even sound English.
Yeah.
Like when they say go home, they say get him. And that doesn't sound to an American like go home. It's get him.
I'm trying to remember some of the stuff. Yeah, it was him. That's one of the funniest. But you couldn't make that television show nowadays.
No.
There's so many of the old BBC era kind of shows now that were comedies that if you tried putting those out nowadays, oh my gosh, they get canceled within 30 seconds of the show airing.
Yeah.
And Scotland just signed some bill last week, like some hate speech bill last week. Do not say anything mean to anyone. You'll get locked up. Clink, clink.
Well, they've been doing it for a while. I saw there is a comedian who's half Russian, half Ukrainian that lives in Great Britain. And he was on a program there and he said, did you know that there is a country, a first world nation, that locked up over 3,000 people last year for what they considered censored speech, put them in jail? And one of them was a young lady who she had a friend that had passed away and his favorite song was a rap song. So she played it in a memorial video she did for him, and it had certain verbiage in it that if it was said by you or I, it would be very racial in content. But considering that it wasn't, it was the rapper who was singing it, but because she had put it in that video, she actually got 13 months in jail for hate speech for doing a video that was a celebration of her friend's life. And I was just like, this is absolutely amazing to me. So
And
yeah,
that
I know.
amazes me because if you stand in a pub late at night on a Friday night in Scotland, you'll hear all kinds of people saying all kinds of things to each other. So
I've seen some of them videos. So yeah, I believe it. Oh, if you watch some of those from down in Australia, way out in the outback, I mean, you're talking the last place before you're in the middle of nowhere. And
right,
some of the stuff that goes on down there. Yeah. Keeping up appearances. Yeah.
that's so funny.
Hyacinth. Oh my gosh. Have you seen the Young Hyacinth program?
Hyacinth, but no, I haven't watched any of that yet. And I've got I don't even know if it's on BritBox yet, but I've seen it's coming. I want to watch.
No,
Hyacinth,
it's on
okay.
Acorn. It's on Acorn TV.
Oh, okay. I've got BritBox. I don't have Acorn.
Well, my wife absolutely loves the British police investigation dramas and things like that. Me personally, Mrs. Brown's Boys is one of my favorites.
Yes.
Open All Hours and Still Open All Hours are right up there. Of course, Still Game is another one of my favorites. Then of course Father Brown, and there's quite a few others that we watch on did you watch the Endeavor series?
No, I haven't watched that.
Oh my goodness, it's the young Morris before he became the drunken investigator with the problems and all that. Oh my goodness, it's a great series. Absolutely love
that's
it.
what that is. Okay, I'll have to give that a look.
Oh, it's
no, yeah, I gotta watch my British TV. I still watch a lot of British junk every day.
Now, and Selena loves Are You Being Served? That's another one of my favorites. That's an absolutely awesome show. I love is it? It's on that's on we were just watching it a couple days ago. We've went through most of those, we've went through the entirety of the series, and we're going back now and watching them again. I mean, at one point we had BritBox, Acorn, Masterpiece Theater. We had pretty much every subscription service there was that had British programming on it because my wife loves that stuff.
Has your wife watched Line of Duty?
Yes. So
unbelievable show.
I mean, I honestly, I go in and I sit down in the living room because we don't have cable anymore. We do everything streaming. Everything is, I'm not paying for a cable service when we can just go ahead and get the individual streaming services that we want and watch the programming we want. Yeah. But I go down there and I sit down, and the continue watching list is just a string of BBC and British and Scottish and Irish programming. Oh my goodness, it's crazy. But there's some of the stuff I just absolutely love. Of course, like here in the US, there's a lot of stuff that it's just not for me. I'm not really allowed to watch much police programming with my wife because I do nothing but sit there and go, that's not possible.
Oh, right. Yeah, you ruined the whole thing. Spoilers, yeah.
Death in Paradise.
So good. Yep. So good.
Have you been watching Beyond Paradise?
No, not yet.
Humphreys. He was the second inspector in Death in Paradise. Right. And he fell in love with this young lady from England, and so he left the island and went back to England with her. And so Beyond Paradise is them with him being a detective, and basically. Oh
wait, this is the young tall guy, right?
Yeah, with the crazy hair.
Yeah. Okay, I did have it on. I was messing, but I did have it on in the background. No, I have watched a bit of it because I love him. He's so funny, that actor.
Yeah,
he's really good.
he was one of my favorites when it came to the Death in Paradise crew. But
yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's very natural.
It's a lot of he's fun to watch because he's that clumsy, almost Inspector Clouseau type of detective.
Yes.
Never keeps anything in a notepad. It's all on scraps of paper that he's constantly fumbling with. And that's, for me, I just, I just like it. I think it's good stuff. So
Yeah. Because I
you
got
get,
tired of watching Housewives and junk stuff
I
here
never
on
watch
TV.
that
It's
stuff
like,
anyway. Yeah.
the
I'm not
Masked
like
Singer
that.
and all that. I
I
can't
don't
watch
keep up
any of
with the
that.
Kardashians. So,
I've never watched any of it. No, I did watch
oh,
one episode once, and that was the one where they were couponing, and I just couldn't watch. I couldn't believe my eyes what I was seeing. But yeah,
I
I can't
watched
watch
the Osbournes on MTV. That was about the only one I ever really watched.
When he falls backwards on that chair. There's
Well,
that one scene. Oh, it's just so funny. Yeah, that was that's really where reality TV kind of started, wasn't it? It was that.
Yep.
And who was that other blonde chick? She died. Who was the blonde model? Anna Marie Lisa. Anna.
Are you talking about the Hilton girl?
No.
Oh, Anna Nicole Smith?
Yes. Her and the Osbournes, they kind of started that. And it just started rolling. This whole reality TV thing just kind of went nuts.
Yeah, I never watched the show with Anna Nicole. That just, that just wasn't my kind of thing. I'm trying to find a photograph for you here. Oh, here we go. We'll push this one out there. But yeah, I've been a huge fan of Ozzy for a long time. So when he made it to Detroit on his what was supposed to be his final tour, a good friend of mine and I went out to go see Ozzy live. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen Ozzy. I actually saw him back in the late 70s heading Black Sabbath with Van Halen opening for them.
I hate Van Halen, but yes.
Oh, let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm not a big Van Halen girl. That's too American for me. But Black Sabbath.
You think about having seen, Black Sabbath and their tone and the march of their music and everything. It's more slowed and subdued. Van Halen came out on stage and it was like somebody had let like a nuclear explosion went off on the stage. They came out.
Seems like a very bipolar kind of concert.
Yeah, and they finished up their set, and then here comes Sabbath, and Ozzy's drugged out of his head, slowly trouncing around the stage. But I made it to every year of Ozfest here in Michigan. I made it 10 out of 11 years that they had Ozfest here.
Oh wow! I went to one in California. I went to one Ozfest in San Bernardino, and it was unreal. It was so good. He's so good. He could hardly walk on and off stage. But once he was on that mic, it was just awesome.
I'm just one of those, during that period, that was, I was entering the world of heavy metal. And it was just one of those things that, I have a very devout Christian mother. I had a very militant former Green Beret father, Vietnam veteran, who was in law enforcement, very brutal man, who his thing was, I like Johnny Cash, I like Waylon Jennings, I like the old country sound. Had nothing to do with rock and roll. My mother being a devout Christian, there was no way she was ever going to take me to a concert. I had an uncle who had been in Vietnam with my father. They were both Green Berets in Vietnam. They come out, my dad goes into law enforcement, my uncle becomes a lifer with the Hells Angels. And so my uncle was the one who he took me to my first concert, which was in 1978, which was Kiss at University of Dayton Arena.
Way to start. Oh my God. Mine was Led Zeppelin. Not Led Zeppelin. Sorry, Def Leppard. Not Led Zeppelin. I wish. Def Leppard was mine. Oh, Kiss, though. That's a good way to start.
Oh my gosh. I saw so many I saw Queen with Freddie Mercury. Do you remember the concert in Cincinnati with the Who where the 11 people were trampled?
Yes.
I was there.
No way.
We had gone in on, first off, you got to remember my uncle I'm the smallest man in my family. So my uncle was no small fella. So
they must be huge.
Oh yeah. All the men in my family are 6'4" and taller. So, and I'm at 6'2", so I'm the run of the litter. My son is 6'7", so I'm the run of the litter. But we were there, and we were on the other side of the arena because it had all happened on the front side. My uncle was one of those, hey, I got the best way to get in for this. So he takes us over to a side entrance, and yeah, it wasn't nearly as packed as it was on the front. It was an hour after the concert was supposed to started that they finally opened the doors, and there was a mad rush to get into the doors, and that's how those 11 people got trampled there. We go in, concert happens, we didn't hear anything. They didn't
you
say
didn't
anything
know.
about it. Concert went on, great show and all that. I come out and I'm literally, because who was the loudest band in the world at that time?
Yes.
Came out, my ears were ringing like crazy, and there's all kinds of news stations and stuff like that out there. They're interviewing people, and I can just remember my uncle was just basically like, oh no, we're going to be in so much trouble. We got home, the door opened, my mom come out and literally punched my uncle right in the face. And he's like, we didn't know. And she was scared to death. This is before cell phones and all that stuff. So she had no idea, if we were okay, what was going on. And, but it was crazy. I got to see so many great bands. I saw ELO when they had the spaceship that opened up on stage.
Yes.
I saw great, just amazing stuff. Went to a concert at Hare Arena in Dayton, Ohio, and it was Judas Priest, and they were supposed to be having a band called Fastway was supposed to be their opening act. The lead singer of Fastway had come down with either the flu or something like that and couldn't do the show. And so one of the local disc jockeys from a radio station came out on stage and says, all right, folks, we got this other band that's filling in for Fastway tonight. They're on their first American tour. Please welcome Iron Maiden.
Bruce.
And it was another thing, like with the whole Van Halen Black Sabbath thing. Iron Maiden come out and we're like, whoa, this is amazing. And then Judas Priest came out, they tore it up too. That was the kind of night that that was amazing it was one of those you never forget. And so that started me on my whole path of getting out there, seeing things, experiencing new things. And when we were talking last night on Facebook Messenger, and you were talking about a specific kind of martial arts training you had taken, I was like, get out of here. So what was it, and how did you get involved with it?
Okay, so when I go downtown to Flag and I yell and tell these people that my superpowers are way more powerful than theirs, and I didn't have to pay that much money, I'm not lying. For 1 year of my life, I was an actual card-carrying ninja. For a couple of years, I started training in ninjutsu. I put my daughter, she wasn't a ballerina kind of girl, so I put her in martial arts. She did much better. She's like her mom. So she did the kid stuff, and then I joined this ninjutsu group that was right there. And our dojo was outside in Laguna Beach, so we would just train on concrete, on grass, on mud and sand, up a tree, down a tree, over benches, on anything. Because as a ninja, you're supposed to be able to fight anywhere.
Right.
And you train long enough to get this, I don't know what they call it, but the tiger and the dragon. So know it's coming before it does. Anyway, so I did ninjutsu for a couple of years. And always wanted to go to Japan to spend the birthday with Masaki Hatsumi Sensei.
Yeah. When you typed out Masaki Hatsumi, I was like, oh, I would dare never say his first name.
I know.
It was always Hatsumi Sensei to me.
Do you guys want to know my martial arts background when you're done?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. In the 1980s, for a couple of years, guys, I was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Or maybe I just watched them. I forgot.
That's ninjutsu too.
Yep.
So I remember as a kid, that's when when I was a kid turning teenager, that's when all the big martial arts stuff started coming out.
Bruce Lee was really big.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then it had just exploded. And
Yeah, I remember.
and they had all the magazines. There probably had to be 100 different magazines about martial arts that were out.
Yes.
I was so I was reading the magazines. I was enthralled like every kid. I had no idea that the training that I was getting from my father in catch wrestling was actually a form of martial arts. I just thought it was wrestling. And so I was reading in one of the magazines and I saw this name, Stephen K. Hayes. And I'm like, and it says the first American ninja. And I'm like, what? As a young person, I'm like, oh boy. And then I
I know.
saw Dayton, Ohio. And I was like, oh no. And so that's how it started for me, as I actually begged my mom to get me over there and start getting me training and all that. And that's how I got to meet Steven and his wife Rumiko, who were just absolutely amazing people. Now, was the people that your senseis, were they under the Stephen Hayes school?
No, no. I know the guys in California, Dale Seago. I mean, you can find him. He's on YouTube too. He's been on a couple of shows. He's on Mythbusters and stuff.
Okay.
I trained with him for a bit. No, who was the Dragonfly guy? He was the Dragonfly. I can't remember his name right now.
Lord.
He's
I
very
can't
tall and thin,
Yeah.
and Hatsumi Sensei gave him the moniker the Dragonfly because he'll come around at you you won't see him coming.
Right.
Oh, I can't remember his name. It was with him. And all I know is that these guys was it November or December when Hatsumi Sensei's birthday is, they would go out to Japan and spend time at the Bujinkan, all of them together. And I know Stephen K. Hayes was there every year too. He would go out there every year.
Yeah, he was constantly out there. I'm trying to find his name right now.
What was his name? Jeffrey Sean Poole. I used to train with Jeffrey Sean Poole, who wasn't card carrying anymore, and then with Joshua B.C. Hoy. Joshua B.C. Hoy he was still carrying the card, and Dale. Dale would come down from San Francisco every now and then to we would put on a day, we would all get together. People would drive from all over. We would all get together in a park and just whack the heck out of each other. It was great. Oh, they wouldn't let me play with the wooden swords. They gave me the foam ones.
Oh yeah, we had to work with those all the time. They hurt too. Oh my goodness.
They do, but I kept I was just going way too slow down, girl. But it's because I had anxiety. I had this sympathetic freneticism going where I just had to fight.
we had more than a few people that we had to keep the I forget what they call them, the practice katana that they had. We had to keep those locked away from those folks because they'd come out and you'd have to start calling the ambulance for all the people who ended up with concussions. But yeah, we were talking about that last night, and then you were talking about how you wanted to meet Hatsumi Sensei, and I'm like, oh, you're gonna hate me so much now.
And I'm really not happy about this. No, I'm happy for you that you got to meet him.
Well, it's one of those things where I honestly, a lot of what I think has happened with me has been right time, right place kind of stuff.
It had to be. You got to take over. What is it you were given to take over to him?
Oh, I had personal correspondence.
From Stephen, right?
Yeah. And I wouldn't have been able to meet him. Like I was saying, by the time that happened, I was a brown belt. And I was still I had come up here to Michigan. We had a black belt here who had his own dojo here in Michigan. And so I was training with him. I can't remember his name now for the life of me, but I was going down once a month and training with Steven down in Dayton. And so when it came time, I was going to be going over to Japan. I was going to be doing my first MMA match over there. And he was like, I need you to take these over and I need them to be delivered to Hatsumi Sensei. Well, he was having a training session going on, but you had to be a black belt to be part of the training session.
Right.
And so if I hadn't had that correspondence, I never would have gotten to meet him. and he was everything you would think of. He's this very petite, very there. You can just feel this presence about him as who he was, and he was just a I was really impressed with who the guy was. And I'm in there and I'm a brown belt, and I'm in there rolling around with these black belts, and they're second, third, fourth dan black belts. Don't speak Japanese. I have no idea what they're saying half the time. And I mean, they were literally just bending me into pretzels and just throwing me around like a rag doll.
Right. With a little finger, they can have you like on your knees screaming for your mom.
Yeah.
How did you do that? I didn't even see you come from anywhere. Yeah, that's what I loved about ninjutsu.
But then as I started advancing in mixed martial arts, when I started taking the Muay Thai training on top of the catch wrestling, and we would do, I guess you call them sparring type matches with folks from other disciplines. And we, it was really interesting to see the differences in how all the martial arts worked and how they carried out against each other. And,
right.
There was, matter of fact, in the second UFC, there was a gentleman, I believe he was out of Iowa, who was a police officer who actually made it to the finals. In that he was going to make it to the finals, but broke his hand in the semifinals match. And he was someone who trained under the Shadows of Iga ninjutsu courses. And he ended up breaking his hand literally because this was before ground and pound, before they had gloves. And he broke his hand during a match and ended up having to withdraw from the tournament. But had that gone on, he probably would have ended up facing Hoist Gracie in the finals.
Ooh.
Yep.
That would have been a match.
It would have been interesting, but one of the areas that I found that they were, and I talked about this several times with Steven, and I talked about it with the sensei up here, was ninjutsu didn't have a very strong ground game as compared to catch wrestling and jiu-jitsu.
Not at all.
Yeah, and that was one of the areas they had a problem with. But I just but the discipline and the different things that I learned from that time frame, those were all so they were incredible times for me, and they helped to form who I am. I'm trying to find it. I know it's packed away somewhere. I still have my gi from back then with the Shadows of Iga patch on the left shoulder, and still have my belts there with it and everything. And it was just such a learning time for me.
I had my purple kunoichi gi with my red belt.
Did you have your I believe, what were they called, the tanto?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. And of course, the girls, we wear our purple. So I used to show up. I dyed my own. I bought a nice white one and I dyed my own. So I showed up all fancy. Like, kunoichi here. Let's go.
It was a great time. And then, I was trying to get a photo of you for the thumbnail for tonight. And looking through your photos on your Facebook page, I found that you and I also had other areas of interest. So,
like, are you my long lost brother?
That's what I was sitting there. I was like, oh my gosh, is this what's going on here? And so tell us about your times out there in the desert that you had.
Well, when I was in ninjutsu, that one weekend where we all got together, a whole bunch of us from all over, I met a bunch of people who go to Burning Man, and I'm like, oh, I've always wanted to go. And they're like, well, you should. Mm-hmm. So go home and buy a ticket and we'll tell you what you need to do. Right. And I guess I'm just dumb. I just went home, went online and bought a ticket and said, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to need this and this. So I had to have this whole preparation courses with them and everything. And anyway, I ended up very lucky because this is a group of people. This isn't just one or two people going. This was an actual camp, a group of people who go every year. So they have their own camp, which makes it a lot safer for you when you're in a big group like that. And we would camp in the theme camp area, which is close to center camp. So I got to go to Burning Man, and I ended up going 8 years, not consecutive, but I ended up going 8 years. I consider myself a bit of a pro. Now, that's when I was skinny.
Oh yeah,
And
like you're fat now. Come on now.
no, but I was a lot thinner then. But I do have to make myself. You know what I really miss is my fake dreadlocks.
Mm.
I always used to. I used to like people go out there to do drugs and get naked. That's what people say, and that's not true for everyone. I used to
Right.
go out there to dress up like a Mad Max nut job. I'd put my dreadlocks on and my big old boots and my black stuff and my belts, and I'd go around on my bike just having a good old time. I love Burning Man. It's one of the best places on the planet. And I want to go back. I have to go back.
How now? I've never been out there for it. You and I were talking. I want to go to the Wasteland Weekend, which is like a Mad Max kind of a convention out there in the middle of the desert. You see the folks that are they're building Mad Max type vehicles that they trailer into this, and then they have them on display at this event, drive them around and everything. And I was like, I've always wanted to do Burning Man, but I didn't have anybody that I knew that went there. At least with the Mad Max, the Wasteland Weekend, my son would go with me to that one. But,
right.
I never had anybody to go with to Burning Man, and it's in the middle of the desert. I didn't know what I was going to need, what it was going to take. And I really didn't know if the wife was going to have a problem with me going or not. So that was something I had to think about. But we're talking about that, and I saw the pictures you're telling me about Burning Man, and then I started thinking, I'm like, that's not so much dissimilar from something I used to go to yearly, and that was called Penzic War in Pennsylvania, which is a big Society for Creative Anachronism event that we'd have.
It sounds like so much fun. It really does.
Oh my gosh. And like there was a guy that lived in the town where I started off as a police officer. I was on a call down the street from his house, and the two women that were there, one of them looked at me, and I was looking at his house, and I was thinking, wow, that's kind of crazy. His whole house was just covered in ivy. It was summertime, and the whole entire house was covered with ivy, like you'd see out of some old British little cottage, And I was like, wow, that's a pretty interesting looking house. And the woman goes, oh, you don't want to go there. He's a witch. And I go, what? And she goes, yep, he's a witch. I cleared the call. I went straight down to that house, knocked on the door. He answers the door. Hi, can I help you? And I go, I hear you're a witch. And he's like, come on in, officer. And that's how our friendship began. It's hilarious hearing him tell that story. But I go into his house and I'm looking around, and at this point I'd been taking the family down to Florida quite often. So one of our big things is we love St. Augustine, Florida. And every year we would go to Ripley's, believe it or not. So I'm walking around this guy's house and I'm like, I've seen that at Ripley's. I've seen that at Ripley's. He's got all these things that they have at Ripley's, believe it or not, that he's just picked up over the years as part of his collection that he carried around. The guy had something like 5,000 books. Every room in his house was just all the walls were bookshelves. And we walked into his dining room, and he literally has a 10-foot table with 12 chairs around it in his dining room. And I'm like, why do you have such a big table? And he goes, I kind of have some pretty big parties here. And so we just started hanging out. We're talking. I was like, he's like me. He's an alternative kind of soul. He's into all this different stuff. And next thing you know, he's like, hey, have you ever thought about, I go to this festival every year called Penzic War in Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. And I'd go, well, I've never even heard of Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. So I could tell you I haven't been to that event. And he starts talking about it. He says, you have to be a member of the Society for Creative Anachronism. And it's a 2-week event. The first week is everybody gets there and everybody has, it's meet and greets, parties and all that. Everybody getting to see old friends. The second week all revolves around all of the administrative kind of stuff they have to do for it. And it culminates in this big mock war they have on a central ground there. And I'm like, well, I'm not interested in the second week. I said, but the first week sounds interesting. And he goes, well, you have to be in period garb, which means you have to be in your clothing has to be period, has to look authentic for the period that you're from. And he's like, well, I'm this and that. And I'm like, okay, so that means you wear black poet shirts all the time and tights and all that garbage. I said, I'm not really into that kind of stuff. And he goes, what do you think about like the Vikings and the Scottish and that? And I go, that's my line right there. So that's I go out and I did my first week at Penzic, and I came back and I was just like, holy crap, that was absolutely amazing. And then I started going from that point forward, and it was just, when you're talking about Burning Man, I'm feeling all the same kind of vibes that we had at Penzic. And I was just like, that was just crazy. And
I've always loved camping since I was little, but I love going camping when there's themes, when there's outfits, when there's installations and there's stuff to do. That is way more fun than just swimming in a lake for a week. Climbing on a massive metallic dragonfly and being swung around and being given fresh strawberry dipped in chocolate in the middle of the desert, and you're like, should I be eating this right now?
Yeah, that's one of the things I always wonder about, because you hear about things, stay away from the blue acid, man, that kind of stuff.
Don't just let people put stuff in your mouth. And don't lick anything that's just hanging around.
Chris on the drums. I used to live in Jacksonville. Did you ever go to the Fountain of Youth, and did you drink from the fountain? LOL. Do you know what that's talking about?
Not a clue.
St. Augustine has the Fountain of Youth National Park, and they have the actual spring that was considered to be the spring from the Fountain of Youth, from the fictional Fountain of Youth with Ponce de Leon.
Oh, really?
Well, what happened was, when he landed, he's meeting with the Native Americans there in Florida, and he asked one of the chiefs, he's like, how old are you? And the guy's like, well, I'm like 400 years old. Well, because they had a different calendar, a different way of measuring time. And he's like, oh my goodness, you look great for 400 years old. And they're like, yeah, we drink from this fountain. It's the Fountain of Youth that we drink from. And so that's where the mythos of the Fountain of Youth came from. They actually discovered it years later in archaeological digs in St. Augustine. That's the oldest city in the United States. Well, the oldest known proven city in the United States. I think it's only like a couple weeks older than Buffalo, but it's still up there and on the charts. And they so what they did was they made a national park out of it. You can literally go in there, and they'll give you a little Dixie cup of the water, and it tastes like drinking straight sulfur mixed in with water. It's nasty as can be. But yeah.
Great. Okay. Yeah. No, then I will definitely go. I won't drink it. I'll use it on my face, though. Oh, no. If it keeps anything young, I'll bathe in it.
What was hilarious was my family all being out of Kentucky. We used to go down when I was a child, and that was back before they had the big highways and stuff like that going through our area of Kentucky. You always had to take the back roads. Well, you'd come around where they had literally cut the mountain open to make a roadway through there. And there would be natural springs coming down the face of the mountain there. And I can remember my dad stopping, getting out, and he'd have he'd take a glass and he would fill it up with that spring water, because it was clean, drinkable spring water.
Right.
And I can remember drinking that, and it tastes exactly like the water from the Fountain of Youth. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was, so
when I get time, I will definitely go up there and I'll give it a go.
Oh, it's they have a shopping district in St. Augustine that it's literally, there's no cars allowed through it. You just walk through. There's probably 200-300 shops right there.
Oh,
and
God.
At one, there's a museum at the very end. There's a bridge called the Lionsgate Bridge, and that's one of the main roads leading into St. Augustine. And right there on the corner is the Castillo de San Marcos, which is a big old Spanish fort that was there. Well, as you're walking, as you walk out there to that main road, there's an art gallery there. And one of the years that we were there, they actually had a couple of Dr. Seuss original art pieces on display in that art gallery. And they had a bunch of recreations and things like that. And I remember taking the kids to see that. It's almost magical. If I could, the wife and I have talked about it many times. If we could afford to live down there, we would definitely buy a place in St. Augustine right there off of the Arts District. And even though I want to live in the country with a lot of property, I would give it up to live there.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah.
I know. I heard St. Augustine's quite beautiful. I'm going to, when I get time, I haven't visited Florida at all. All I know is just Clearwater so far. So when I eventually get more time, then, I need to go down to the Everglades and see me some. I want to go on one of those boats with the big propeller thing in the back.
Oh, the airboats. Yeah. Yeah. You don't even have to do that. You can go over to Orlando and do airboat rides. They've got the alligator airboat rides. Yeah. And they even have, literally, I've worked on them. They take old school buses, chop the tops off of them, put these, almost like umbrella type canopies over them.
Yeah.
And they put them up on big monster truck axles and tires that are like when I used to, here, I'll show you real quick. Let me see if I still got the photo in here. Yeah, this is my old baby right here. So it looked like that, but it was a school bus. And they take you out through the swamps in one of those. And the alligators and everything like that. And that's right over in Orlando, Kissimmee area. You can do that.
Well, I want Lori to take me to Orlando because she knows her way around all of that. She's always up there in Orlando.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to have her take me so she knows where everything is. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, good. I was closer. I don't have to drive that far.
But it's a lot of fun. Let's see. I'm trying to find something.
Isn't there a big golf course in St. Augustine? There is. No, wait. That's Augusta, Georgia. St. Augustine. Yeah, that's different. Never mind.
I'm trying to find the link to it. There's Showcase of Citrus is the name of the place. So,
okay.
And it's in Kissimmee. There's actually a place over there that we used to stay every year. It was called Tropical Palms. And when you would stay there, you would stay in these, their cabins on the property. But here are some of their big school buses that they had.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. So
how do you get up? Do they throw you up there? How do you get up there?
You go up on a platform right here. This photo shows it. You come up on this platform, you just walk in the side there. But
do I have to climb up a ladder or a rope to get up?
Just go up a staircase and you're right there. It was a lot of fun. We did it a couple of times with the kids. It was just, something for them to do. I've been in the monster truck business for over 40 years now. So that was something that we liked, I like doing it. The wife and kids like doing it too. It was always some fun, adventurous stuff we could get into with it. So
here in Florida, you always see big old monster trucks just driving around, very loud, very cold rolling. Yeah, we got cold rolled last night, or not last night, the night before. We got cold rolled. Yeah, there's a lot of those here, and I always wonder, how do you get up there?
Yeah, like with the truck I showed you the picture of mine, I literally climbed up the tread of the tires. Because the tread was.
So you have to climb up the
tires, or I'd put a ladder right up to the side of it and climb up to get in that way. But yeah, it was, you do it for years. When I used to do the shows with the old trucks like that, we would, we'd literally put them in drive and just let them idle forward. They'd do maybe 3 to 5 miles an hour, and you could walk around behind the truck, grab hold of the tire, and as it's moving, it would lift you up almost like an elevator, and you could get up and you would pace backwards, but you would walk on top of the tire doing it.
Right.
And the crowds just absolutely ate that stuff up. So we had a great time with it.
I can see that. That's
once you got down there to Florida and you'd decided to plant your roots down there, what got you actually getting into the First Amendment auditing down there?
Well, my dad, being the Scientologist that he is, I didn't really grow up with him, so I didn't have a chance to rebel against him as a teenager. So I think it's all coming out now.
Okay.
So basically, without his knowledge. I've been following Mark Bunker, even Chris Shelton, and Tony Ortega for years. You know, I've been following all the Scientology because it was a part of my life that I really couldn't discuss with anyone because no one would understand. No one understand what Scientology was. So I just kind of had this thing. I just kept following what was going on in the Scientology world or the ex-Scientology world. Tori Magoo, Mark Bunker, all them lot. And I've always been an activist. If you open the back of my car, there's all kinds of signs and flag, not all Scientology related. If there's a woman's march, if there's a march, I'm there. I've just been an activist most of my life. I've gone to City Hall and spoken out a couple of times. I've done all kinds of things like that. So I'm someone who doesn't shy from standing out in the middle of the street with a sign.
Right.
When I first bought my car here in Clearwater, the first thing I did, I drove down to Osceola, parked right at the library, and I walked around Flag, listening to the podcast, Leah Remini and Mike Rinder's podcast, the Fair Game podcast. And I was like, I'm listening to them, you know, and I just kept walking around there, just looking at, like, what's going on around here? This is nuts.
Right.
So I just wanted to get out there. In my head, I just had this vision of me dressed as a squirrel, running with a big old acorn that says OT9 on it, just running around the corner. I've just wanted to do that for the longest.
Right.
So November last year kicks off. Streets goes big. The LA thing starts getting big, and I'm like, oh my God, this is fantastic. This is so cool. Everyone is. I wish I were in LA right now because if I were in Southern California, I'd be up in LA protesting with everyone. I was just, yeah. Well, then comes January, and George and Aaron went out one night in Clearwater and just did a little video of, look how dead it is down here. Look how dead Clearwater is. That next night, they texted a couple of us like, hey, would you guys want to come out to protest, you know, just do some auditing with us downtown? And I'm like, where's my phone? Okay, bye. I'll see you in a minute. I was out the door. So that's how it started. And I got to meet George and Laurie and Kai, SPIT showed up, you know, bit by bit, Dustin, people, Erica, all these people just started showing up, and it's just fantastic. It's like the whole world has joined in with my crazy ideas now. Everyone else wants to dress like a squirrel and run around Flag. It's great. And now that's very narcissistic of me, of course, but my father is a Scientologist.
Yeah.
But I am just loving these protests. I'm absolutely loving these protests because it's not just one place like Anonymous did. It's gone global, but it's even bigger this time because we all have cell phones everywhere, and it's just global now. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. I think when you look at what's going on, like with what has happened to Aaron in LA, what's happened to Jay over in Denver, what's happened to DOA, Confidential Chris, I think it's a sign that they're getting a bit frustrated with everything.
Yes.
They've been able to control the narrative so skillfully for a long time, and now they're at the point where they can't, and they
don't know what to do with us. They don't know what to do. They turn around. They don't even know I'm coming. They turn around and then, oh God, she's there again.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I'm in your face.
I just, and Chad, I want you to chime in on this too, because I remember, you know, we got over there at the Ruth Eckerd Hall, and you know, that was, I mean, other than we saw some great vehicles coming in and out of there, just some fabulous, expensive vehicles. You know, we were on the side of a road, but we got down into Clearwater, and I was just like, wow, this is so beautiful, but it's absolutely deserted. And it, you know, and you heard me out there talking about it. It absolutely broke my heart to see this downtown area that could be so vibrant and jam-packed, and businesses just doing phenomenal amounts of business there. And there was nobody there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a I see why no one wants to go down there, because you see all the cameras literally in the bushes. It's very creepy. You know, so yeah, I don't blame people who are not really wanting to hang out there.
Oh yeah, I have friends that, you know, that live down there in the Tampa Clearwater area. They live in St. Pete. And they were like, "So what are you doing down here?" And I said, "We're down here to do the First Amendment auditing of Scientology." And they're like, "Ooh, we don't want nothing to do with them Scientology people. Those are some weird, creepy people." And I understand. I see it down there. How does it feel as someone who lives there to have to go down and see that?
Well, see, because my family was Scientologists and we're in it, I know that that to me is as awful as it is. I know it. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
and it's really hard for me to yell at them because I know how Scientologists think.
Yeah.
And yeah, living here. I mean, I've lived in a couple of other beach towns. I lived in Laguna Beach. You know, when you live in California, you pop around to all these other beaches too: Solana, Huntington, Encinitas. You go to Pacific Beach. You go to all these beautiful, amazing beaches, and they're all hopping and popping with people and shops and ice cream and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, we know. We went to Clearwater Beach that last morning before we flew out. Absolutely just thriving. You get
Right?
over towards where we were staying and that whole area popping, just traffic everywhere, people walking, shops are just full of people. Downtown Clearwater, ghost town.
Dead.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people argue with me, oh, well, if you want restaurants, just go over to Clearwater Beach then. Just go over the bridge. It's like, why should I have to? Our
Yeah.
downtown should be just as hopping and popping as the Clearwater Beach area is. We should have a whole bunch of restaurants and music, entertainment, event places. We should have that. Clearwater should be hopping and popping. It's a very old, beautiful Florida beach town, and it's dead. We just have a bunch of valet parkers walking around who look like you like this.
Yeah. It was amazing trying to talk to the people, you know, and you heard how I was. Hello, good evening, ma'am. How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you gentlemen tonight? And how they would literally just ignore you.
Yeah.
And so that's why as I'm walking by and I'll say something to them, but they wouldn't respond. As I'm walking away, I talk into my cell phone and I go, you know, can we just talk about Xenu, and watch them literally just disappear? And I just thought that was hilarious. You know, there've been a couple of people talking about Aaron saying that they felt it was in very bad taste for him being down there dressed as Danny Masterson. I'm telling you that I thought that was some of the funniest stuff, watching how they reacted to him.
Exactly. And they might not even have realized he was dressed
Right.
as Danny Masterson. They might not even have a clue.
Well,
Half of
that
them
was
don't
one of
know
the
who
things I
Danny
realized.
Masterson is, and they don't know he's in jail. They haven't heard anything about court case. They have
Absolutely.
no idea.
We had first gotten there and we're walking around, and Aaron's in the Danny suit, and there were 3 Sea Org members that were come up walking towards us, and he goes, "Hey, how you guys doing? I'm Danny Masterson. You know me?" And they're like, who's Danny Masterson? He goes,
Right.
"Oh, well, I just got convicted of several counts of SA, but it's okay because I'm a Scientologist." And you just, the look in their faces were like, "What?" He goes, yeah, I'm a Scientologist who just got
Right.
convicted of all these counts of that. And they just literally scurried off from there.
Yeah.
And so that told me they know nothing about what's
No.
going on.
They keep their information so limited, and then they are scared to look
Yeah.
at. They're scared to go on Google. They're scared to go on to look at certain channels on TV. They won't do it. They keep themselves from literally doing it, so they are not informed. They don't know.
I'd love to see the inside of this Fort Harrison. I want to see how
Me
nice that
too.
place is inside.
Because I've seen pictures, you see photographs here and there, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's stunning.
I wonder how much
but-
they pay to stay there.
Oh, it's expensive. They're charging them like 4-star, 5-star rates to stay
Wow.
there. It's not cheap.
Yeah.
And just you have to go there to study that. That's the only place you can go there to study these higher levels.
Right.
And you have to stay there. They won't let you stay anywhere else. You're not allowed to
Mhm.
stay at any outside hotels. So you are locked into them, you know, just their information. at all times. And you have to pay them. On top of paying for your courses, you'll pay, and then when you go to the restaurant, you have to pay for the restaurant and make sure you tip everyone. And it's like it's never ending. They're just sucking the money, and these people don't get it. They haven't gotten that yet. It's like Jesus Christ.
And this question that Anne brought up, I'm going to bring up the photograph. When we were sitting at this table in front of Nash Keys, you really can't see it because Sarasota Jerry's there on the right, and that's you down at the end down there. Next, you're next to Sarasota Jerry. Who was the gentleman right there on the right?
George Spit Kai, the one with the beard is Kai Spit. Yep. He's in between George and Chad.
Okay.
So we've got George, Kai, Chad, Laurie, me, Jerry. Who's in the corner? Oh, is that Sandy? No, that might be Sandy McKenna. I'm not sure. And then Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron and Jenna.
Yeah.
I was sitting there with y'all, and we were talking about the taxes from the buildings and things like that. And I had been under the impression that they didn't pay any property taxes on any of the properties they own. And I thought it was you, but now looking back at that picture, you were sitting all the way down at the other end of the table, and I forget who it was that was sitting to my right. There was one young lady who had showed up while we were protesting at Ruth Eckert. And then, and there was another lady right there, and Dustin had come right up and was standing in between me and the corner there. And we were talking, and I brought it up about how much the city was losing in taxes. And it was one of the ladies there on my left or my right who said that they do get taxed on a lot of their properties. It's just certain properties like the Fort Harrison and Flag that they don't get taxed on. And because I'd been under the impression,
I think that's Erica.
Is it?
Yeah.
And I was just under the impression that the city was getting nothing out of this, but even the taxes that they're getting certainly can't be anything of substantial amount because, they've devalued their properties as much as possible.
Right. Well, they make sure that they say that their buildings are for conducting mass, and their services and stuff. So those are the ones they're not going to pay taxes on. Then they have certain apartment buildings where Moises Agame builds them, where a lot of Scientologists either live or stay when they come here also. And they're the ones that they do pay some taxes on. But on the whole, they've bought up most of downtown Clearwater. They don't pay taxes. I don't know if it's a Florida thing, but I know Clearwater, the roads are awful.
Oh, believe me.
Terrible.
Come on over here to Michigan. You'll think you have just wonderful roads. Chad can tell you.
Yeah.
How'd you like the roads here in Michigan, Chad?
About the same as Buffalo, Poe.
You could tell when you leave the state of Ohio and enter Michigan, there is a definite difference in the roads.
Really?
Thailand, Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam. I've seen better roads in those countries than I have here in Michigan. And, probably the only state I've ever been to that had worse roads than Michigan was Alabama. And that was just we only went through a small section on our way to New Orleans. And that was just that. And I'm sorry, Chitsa, if you're still in here, but that section where you cut through Alabama was the worst highway I've ever been on in my life.
Okay, I've been across there. I was driving back to California years ago, and I'm like, just please get me to Texas at least get me to Texas. I was very scared.
I was going to do a monster truck show here. It was going to be over in the west side of Michigan. I live on the southeast side. I was going over to the western side of the state. And there is a section of 94, which thankfully they finally fixed it. But it was literally like a washboard as you're going down the road. Now, you got to remember, I'm in this big 1-ton dually hauling a trailer with a monster truck behind it. And that road was so bad, it actually bruised my ribs going down that road.
Really?
Yeah. You know how bad that hurt doing a monster truck show with bruised ribs? Oh my gosh. I can
only imagine. Yeah. How can all the bouncing around? That would have, that could not have been fun.
Nashville Audits was wanting to know if anybody lives near Nashville that would be interested in protest the local celebrity center. Nashville, definitely we need to get together. I'm going to put my email address down here in the comments. Definitely get hold of me because my wife and I, we've been to Nashville hundreds of times, and it's nothing for me. It's a good 6-7 hour drive down for me from here to get down to Nashville. And so I'm more than happy to get down there once I get a little bit of free time, get down there and join you for an audit down there around the Scientology places there in Nashville. So definitely get hold of me, Nashville audits. I'd be more than happy to do that with you.
Yes.
So so is your father fully out of Scientology now?
Yeah. So he split off with the Freeze owners when after Hubbard died, because my dad was buddies with Hubbard on the Apollo and with Mary Sue. And my dad didn't like being on the Apollo. He blew 3 times off of the ships, and out of the Sea Org. But anyway, he said he had a conversation with LRH, and he said, "Look, this boat thing doesn't jive with me. I could do much better on land." And LRH told him, "Yes, you go back to the Org and you go up the bridge." So that's what he did. So him and his wife, after LRH died and David Miscavige took over, there was this split, and there are a bunch of high up Scientologists. David Mayo was one of them. They kind of split and they took off and they went up to Santa Barbara and they started their own mission, which is now a Scientology mission. But at the time, it was like they were trying to split off and just do Scientology tech the way LRH wanted it done,
right?
Not the way David Miscavige was starting to do things. And he was starting to change things. And like, you can't change anything. LRH said you can't change anything. Why are you changing stuff? And my dad was very much, because he'd been friends with LRH, and he's like, LRH is king, so we have to do what he says. So my dad kind of split off with them, and he got out of Scientology. Now, he was still in good standing, but he was just out. However, he'd climbed up the bridge to OT7. OT8 hadn't been out when he was... So as far as he knew, he'd reached the highest levels. And he's like all in. Just today, I go to the hospice to listen to him, and he's talking about how all the nurses, they all coming in here telling me, they think they can tell me that, he just has this superiority, narcissistic way of being that's just so unhealthy. So, yeah, he got out of it, but he's still all in, and that's the way he lived his life. Him and his wife had no friends. They were very happy, though, that way. They were in pipe, but, they did a bunch of stuff to keep themselves busy. They were extras in movies in L.A. They were in pipe bands. They did a bunch of different stuff. But they were just, both of them, stuck in this. They're just stuck in this Scientology bubble. So like I said, his wife passed away a couple of years ago. So that's why I came out to look after him. And he thinks, like, we haven't bonded. He believes I am the reincarnation of his father, because Scientologists believe you come back around in life with the same people, but just in different bodies.
Oh, okay.
So like I've been my mother's sister, daughter, father, mother, grandmother, you know what I mean? So we've been everything to everyone already. But we come back around with the same beings all the time.
That's crazy.
When this stuff comes out of my mouth, I swear to God. So he believes I am his father.
Mm-hmm.
So he looks at me still as if I'm his father's theta, not the Cheryl. His father was Scottish, and he was an alcoholic, and he beat his mom. He wasn't a very nice person. So that's who he still thinks I am. And I'm trying to take care of this man, wipe his ass and make him food and give him his pills. And he talks to me. And all I wanted all my whole life was for my dad to love this little girl. And I've never gotten that. I've never gotten that. Now, a couple of years ago, I was crying about it. Not anymore. I'm okay with it now. I don't want him to be my dad. And I told him that too. He didn't like that.
I can mirror that sentiment. I grew up with a father who was very brutal and very judgmental and very condescending in everything that he did.
Everything.
I've told it before. I was promoted from corporal to sergeant and I'd done so in one of the quickest times that our department had. And it was just one of those right place, right time. A bunch of people had retired out. They needed sergeants. I literally was just a couple of days away from being at the point where I could be promoted to sergeant, took the test, got promoted. And so I'm talking to my dad and I said, "Hey, I got promoted to sergeant." And he goes, "When are you going to make lieutenant?"
Never good enough. Yep.
There was nothing that was ever good enough that I did. I never felt like my father was ever proud of me.
Yeah.
I was always a degraded person in his eyes. And so, when he got older and he started having a lot of heart problems, things like that, my thoughts on it were, I'm not living my life worried about what this man thinks anymore. It's time for me to live my life. And I said, you know what? I forgive you. I'm moving on from all of it. I love you. And I'm just not going to let you hold my life back anymore. And, when he passed, we had made peace at that point. I had made peace. I don't know about him, but I'd made peace with him because I just wasn't going to carry this burden on me anymore. So I know.
Right. Well, you're hurting yourself in the long run, really. And right. Yeah. It's not doing any good to anyone.
Yeah.
So, so my dad's called me a degraded being and I am PTS. And that's why, see, he doesn't realize, he thinks he's still homo novus and there's nothing wrong with him. Now he's 96. He's got high blood pressure. His body is decaying. He's on his way out. No. He doesn't believe that. Mm-hmm. He's only sick because I've told him he's sick.
Yeah.
And I'm here in the house making him sick because I'm here with my beingness. I make him ill. I'm PTS.
How far did he make it up the bridge?
OT7 the whole way.
Wow.
OT8 hadn't come out. OT8 came out when Miscavige came out. OT7 hadn't come out yet.
Okay.
So he went all the way up the bridge. So he's all in.
Yeah.
All in. He wrote a book. Oh my God, I don't even want to show anyone, but he wrote a book. And it's supposed to be a story about this young man who was just kind of a mess in life. And he goes on this ship and he ends up meeting this very wise man who gives him all these it's all Scientology. I couldn't even get through it. I've only read a little bit. My dad wrote that. I can't even get through that. And I'm really surprised in all the things. He never mentions me at all, ever in anything.
Well, when you think about it, look how easily.
He mentioned me in here. I can't believe that. I just found that today. I was like, oh my God.
That's amazing.
But usually he's never talked to anyone about having a daughter. No one knew he had a daughter.
That's the crazy thing. And you know what really surprised me was when talking with with the people my father had worked with at General Motors. And they're like, "Oh man, he's so proud of you. He just talks about you all the time and all the things that you've done and and all this." And then when I talk to him, I'm like, how is it that you can sit there and say this to other people, but I've never once heard you in my life tell me I'm proud of you or I love you? Right. How is that possible? And he just refused to answer. So
that's awful.
Yeah.
Well, for a while there with my dad, like when I talked to him on the phone, I'd go, "Okay, Dad, bye, love you." He'd go, "Love you, honey." But then when I don't say it, he doesn't say it. So that is a Scientology thing. It's like a mirroring. They just mirror what they kind of act interested in how you are and what you like and stuff like that. So he only said it to like appease me. He doesn't say it because he means it. Right. And so I've stopped telling him I love him because there's no point. All right, Dad, see you later.
Dustin says every time he's at Flag, he sees a child. Every single time a child, no matter what time I'm out there late night most times. Yeah. That's just absolutely insane to me. And as I, in the live stream I did the other night, it was focusing on the victims and how the children need to be saved. And that's why I'm using the hashtag see something, say something. And that, those things, you see a child out there, those hours of the day and night, and what they're there for.
Yeah.
That's the thing is that's the kind of stuff we've got to get that out to the
Right.
authorities. Says I don't know what they call it in Florida. Here in Michigan, it's Child Protective Services, but that's the kind of stuff we got to get out there and make sure that they are
absolutely,
they're being notified. There we go.
The kids can't consent, and I'm not just saying that as a hashtag. It really is true. If
Right.
you're an adult, consenting adult, and you want to believe in whatever you want to believe in, that's
Absolutely.
up to you. But putting these kids through this particular program is one of the most damaging things you can do to a child. It goes against everything natural a child needs in its life to grow up to be a decent human being on this planet.
Absolutely. Well, it's like you were talking about. He didn't not mention you in the book, and I just go back to how quickly he was willing to turn you and your mother over and send you off back to the United Kingdom.
Oh yeah.
And without any kind of hesitation, simply because you guys weren't going to be in lockstep with Scientology. So, I could see that.
And I had a really hard time of it. I had a really bad childhood because of that. A lot of neglect, a lot of abuse happened to me because of that. And it really upset me that when I was like 21, I got to sit down and have dinner with him. And I go, why did you just never call me or send me a birthday card? Why did you never show up? And he goes, oh, honey, because I knew you'd survive. That yeah, it's like, wow, there's so little love in this man. It's unbelievable. Okay.
Yeah, that's a sad thing.
Having a Scientologist father is one of the most heartbreaking things.
Scientologist parent, period. I mean, you hear the stories. Did you see the interview I had with Jamie Mustard?
No. Did I watch that one? Hold on. No.
It was about the DSR treatment.
Yeah, well, I had the shots. Yeah.
Okay. You've had that?
I didn't have the DSR shot. Well, I did. I had the stellate ganglion blocks. I had 3 of them. So you could pain management give these shots, and they just give them in the stellate ganglion right here in the lower neck next to C7.
Okay.
What Jamie's doctor does, what his center does, they are even more. They do more. They get you at C7 and C3.
Wow.
Now, the ones I had worked for me. Either way, when you have anxiety and depression and you've gone through trauma, your body, your brain gets stuck in sympathetic mode. So you're constantly, this is what life is, right? You're just constantly to everything. So when your brain is having to deal with all of that anxiety, it doesn't have room for you to be able to think on how to even make a sandwich.
All right.
So what these shots do is it's like logging you off and logging you back in. It's like turning you off and turning you on again. You reboot. It turns the whole autonomic central system off for like 10 minutes, and then it reboots. So he puts the shot in, and they just push you to the side, and you just lie there for about 10 minutes. And I felt like this cooling effect. Now, I'm kind of in a twilight on propofol, so you're a bit like, ooh, googly, a bit funny anyway. But I just felt like this, like floating sensation. And then it reboots. It's not like I noticed much happen, but after the first one, I started taking deeper breaths. I didn't notice all the humming and buzzing anymore. Really? My anxiety I stopped crying, because I would cry every day, like 6 or 7 times. I would get an intrusive thought and I would cry. And this was just constant. This has been happening to me my whole life.
Okay.
It's not, I haven't cried when was it? A month ago? It's taken an edge off of something. Now, I can still feel my anxiety and depression from trauma. It's still there. So I can see where you still would need to do some cognitive behavioral therapy or EMDR, something along with it if you're that bad to get you through, to help you along. But it really has taken the physiological angst and pain and nervousness off of me. So I had 3 shots for 3 Thursdays in a row. It cost me a $10 copay, $30 altogether. And it has done such a number on me, I can't tell you. I want to start a foundation to get people these shots. I want to cover these shots for people because it's the only thing that's ever worked. I've done all the pills. I've done all the physical therapy. I've done everything. I've done, you name it. I've had people. I paid someone to clear my ancestors' karma. That didn't take the pain away. These things did. They've really worked. I have fibromyalgia and stuff too, and it's done something. So I'm all for. So now I watched Jamie's story. I've watched him on a couple of channels. I wonder if I did watch him on yours. And I know his story, and his story.
Horrible. Absolute horrors. You know,
It's horrendous when a child, oh, bless. I can't imagine the neglect that he suffered was inhuman.
Literally, he was born, and once he was clear, they took him to the warehouse, and that's where they raised him. And so at least you were fortunate in the fact that you had a mother who wasn't part of it. And yes, it was a bad life that you had. You had a lot of ghosts that you had to fight with. But to think about being raised the way that Jamie was, where no human, he wasn't given human interaction. He was literally just fed, cleaned, and put back. If
my mom would have gotten in, that's what would have happened to me, though, because I would have ended up in the cadet org.
Yeah.
Because when I also talking to my dad, I'm like, well, what would have happened? I asked him what would have happened if I would have lived with you? And he goes, oh, yeah, you would have come to live with me. Yeah. Jesse would have looked after you. And I never asked him who Jesse was. I'm guessing it was a Scientology person that he knew that took care of the kids.
Wow.
See, even my dad, if I would have stayed living with him, even if him and my mom would have separated, he would have sent me off. So I would have grown up in the cadet. So when I hear Lara's stories and Serge's story and all of them, I'm like,
there, but for the grace of God.
It would have been growing up with this evil man here, or it would have been growing up in that whole mess there. I don't think in this lifetime I would have been free of abuse.
Who knows? You probably would be one of those people down there working in Clearwater that we'd be trying to talk to.
Exactly. I'd be sitting there looking at you guys like this.
Who are they? I talked about Xenu. But it's absolutely amazing, just the disconnection and how easily they're willing to turn their children over to an organization.
If someone in a penguin suit tells you disconnect from your family, they go ahead and do it, and it's disgusting.
Now,
it really is.
How did the squirrel costumes get brought in?
Okay, well, see, like I said, from the beginning, I've wanted a squirrel costume since forever.
Right.
Because I just wanted to do that by myself. I didn't even know anyone else was interested. So Lori and I, we started talking about it. I know, I love Lori so much. I love going down there with Lori so much. I'm like, Lori, I really want a squirrel costume. She's like, I go, yeah, I've been looking them up. They're a bit expensive. I don't know what to do. So anyway, we go home that night after streaming, and she sends me a message. She found one on Amazon, and it was like $35. I don't know. I remember how much it was. I'm like, bang, I just went in and bought it. She goes, oh, okay, I'm good. So she bought hers. And as soon as we both got ours, she bought a big box of peanuts too. So she was handing out OT9 nuts. Oh my God, it was so funny. That night we got clocked by a policeman.
Yeah, I remember her telling that story.
We were walking around. I'm like, I can see this guy is in a white Jeep and he's staring at us. And it doesn't look like a regular Jeep, right? You can tell it's unmarked. And I'm looking at him, and this is on one side a flag, right? So we walk around the other side, and we're standing there, and I see him. He's pulled up, and he's parked across the street, and he's staring at us. And I'm like, Lori, that guy was behind the building over there staring at us. She's like, oh, really? So she marches over to him. And she's like, are you an unmarked policeman? And he's like, yes, I am. So you're keeping an eye on us? Yes, I am. She goes, okay, would you like some OT9 nuts? So she just kind of explained to him, look, we're just down here, doing our thing.
I can't remember how many times I said it, that Lori has probably the biggest pair that I've seen.
And, totally. And because also she was a police officer, I feel very safe with her.
Oh yeah, she's very on spot with a lot of things. Chad and I had talked about it several times about, SA. Situational awareness is
Right.
what I'm talking about there. And
well, I have that from the ninjutsu.
okay, then you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So at one point, Lori and I were walking, and you guys were quite a ways behind us. And I'm like, my goodness, they're back there a little bit. And she goes, yeah, but they're not former cops. They don't walk with a purpose like we do. So
It's funny. It's funny that you said that Cheryl said she felt safe with Lori, because I felt the same way with Poe. Poe's like always on. He still thinks he's he's always on duty. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh no, that exactly. So that night I had Poe and Lori. Yeah, I was feeling pretty safe.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good night. Something I noticed about that second night that was different from the first night was the amount of people that were walking around that appeared to have some kind of disorder going on and were talking to themselves, things like that. The first night there was nothing like that out there. The second night there were just seemed to be everywhere that we turned. There was someone like that. And all I kept thinking back to was what happened with Aaron, what happened to Confidential Chris, and these were the type of people that was coming from. And I was amazed how many of them suddenly showed up out of nowhere.
Well, that's because right there next to Flag is that the bus station.
Mm-hmm.
And we do get a lot of we get some homeless people who are sitting out there. And like on Friday night, we saw one of the gentlemen, he had his Cat in the hat on, and he walked by, and he was looking lovely. He was wearing some blue shiny pants, a green shamrock shirt, and his Cat in the hat, and he walked by Flag, and it was just marvelous.
Do you you remember that young guy we saw there, and he was pointing out where the bus was. He goes, they're unloading right there. The space people are unloading over there. The UFO people. That kid was so cool.
That was so funny. He wanted to help us out. Hey, they're back there, guys. Well, that's it. When we stand on this street corner, they start going around the back. So now we have to scurry around the back. And then once we get there, then they come around the other way. So it's this game of cat and mouse that we're always playing. It's really funny.
I like it when I saw some of the lives with Aaron where there would be one or two would take a corner. And then, you had all four corners covered. So there was no scurrying around one way or another. They were going to get seen coming in and out.
That day you could see buses coming and making a turn and then going off again. And then, and going off again. Because they didn't know they had to just keep going round us and wait for us to walk away.
Oh, yeah. So, all right. We are coming up on 2 hours now. Yeah. It happened that quick. Yeah. These things happen. So, Cheryl, what can we expect in the future coming from you? And any parting words you're going to have for anybody?
Puppet shows, I hope. I want to get better at this. I need to get monetized so I can get a really good editing program, because everyone's really loving my little
you punching Judy in it?
Body Thetan little shows and stuff. So I want to do more. I want to do more of these. But I'm definitely going to be out there more. Type? Yes. That's the way to do it. Oh, I should. That's a really good idea. Thank you, Poe. I will be streaming more, hopefully. Right now I'm taking care of my dad, and he's tap dancing on the galactic rainbow. He's in between worlds right now. He's speaking to spirits. He was speaking to a bunch of them today in the room. Ooh. So he's halfway. Whoa, he's halfway there. That's the way to do it. No, you didn't. Yes, you did.
Well, you could have Punch. It could be LRH in a fake Commodore's costume, and then of course Wavy Davy in his little outfit there. That's how that could be.
That's his name. That's David Miscavige's Punch. He goes around whacking everyone. So that's David Miscavige. Oh, I'm gonna have to. Thank you for giving me that.
Oh yeah.
So what's coming? So. There will be. I hope to get my channel going a little more. I want to interview a bunch of people too, meet all the streamers, because there's so many now. Fluffer Squirrel UK has that list, and I want to talk to everyone, all over the
Anytime you
place.
want, just let me know.
And yeah, just want to keep doing this and bring. So to me, I don't think Scientology is ever going to end because of the free zone. I think people are still going to be into doing Scientology. I just want the abuses to stop, and I want the kids out. So I'm going to keep doing this until we succeed.
I personally think that until they run out of money, they're just going to keep going as is.
So we need to revoke their IRS tax exemption because that's the one way we'll get it done. If they want to read all the books they want and believe whatever they want, whenever they want, absolutely. But these abuses, family disconnection, and all this child abuse and elder abuse, and I've seen it in my own family. So I'm going to be out there as much as I can.
You watch and you see what's going on with them and how they handle things. And it's just amazing to me that they are able to have people that just dump millions and millions and millions of dollars in yearly. But I don't get it. I mean, when you see people who've made it to the upper levels that suddenly are being diagnosed with cancer and other terminal diseases, and they are supposed to be immune to all of that. And then you end up seeing how, they're told, well, the best way to handle this is you need to go to this clinic in Mexico or in South America. And you find out
you get ozone therapy and auditing. You don't get any chemo. You get ozone therapy and auditing.
Just, and that's the thing is, but they're silently shipping these people off to these places. Yeah. And I heard from one person who had made it into those upper levels and their spouse had been diagnosed. They got there and realized how many other upper level OT people there were that were there with them going through basically the same things. And just absolutely.
My cousin Kim, she was OT7 also. I think she didn't get to OT8. Mm-hmm. And she got bowel cancer.
Wow.
And I looked at my dad. I'm like, oh my God, Kim has cancer. He goes, yeah, she needs to get her ethics in. And I'm like, holy crap.
Hook, line, and sinker. Hook, line, and sinker.
So she wouldn't go. She wouldn't do what the doctors told her. She went and got ozone therapy, paid these quacky doctors for glutathione IV infusions, and spent $400 an hour every day to speak to someone on Skype, get auditing from some free zoner, someone in the outside free zone world in Scientology, the independent Scientology world in Australia. She paid someone $400 a day. You're dying of cancer. You should be getting better treatment than this. That's what she did. And she passed away in the facility my dad is at right now. And she was only like 67.
Wow.
And the only thing my dad could say in all this, that was his niece that he loved dearly, apparently. She needs to get her ethics in. She's got cancer because she doesn't have her ethics in. I thought that was the most coldest, horrific thing I could hear from a family member. It was awful.
But I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised.
And yeah, so they all get cancer. Now, my dad hasn't, but everyone else in my family has gotten cancer. Everyone else that I know that in Scientology that has died, they've had cancer. It's all cancer. We're all human in the end. Your genetic entity isn't any more special than mine.
That reminds me of when there was the lady who is somewhat of a celebrity, former Playmate of the Month or something like that, who being interviewed, and she said they were bringing up about the fact of the things that Apostate Alex had gone through. And her response was, well, what did he do that was out ethics?
That's it.
I have compassion.
Pull the cancer in. Yeah, it's a horrible way to think. It's awful. So now you want to take responsibility for your actions and words in life, but not everything is a direct result of your words and actions. Sometimes life happens. There's randomness and chaos in the universe, and they don't believe in that though. It's all brought on by your own beingness.
So. All right. So thank you so much for being here. This has been amazing. So much. I have loved it. So Chad, do you have any parting words for us?
Oh, I just enjoyed this a lot. Paul, thanks for having me on.
And
Thank
I'll
you,
be
Chad.
seeing you tomorrow, Chad. So
Yep. Looking
we're
forward to
making
it.
the run over tomorrow to the wife and I are making the run over to Buffalo. We're going to go see the eclipse from there. I'll be live tomorrow, folks. Starting
Oh, I'll
at
be
8.
watching.
Hopefully Chad has us a good spot picked out where we can go and watch the eclipse. It's going to be, I guess there's not going to be another one for what, 70 some years that's going to be happening.
Yeah.
So
I'm really excited about this one tomorrow. I really am, because guess what? I'm a witch.
well,
I'm very excited about tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. I've lived through them before, so I've seen them before. But the wife
At
is
Burning Man. I was at one at Burning Man at 2:00 in the morning.
Wow.
I saw the moon turn red. It was that was the year
Oh, the blood
they
moon.
burned down the man on Tuesday. A crazy guy climbed up and he burnt the man down on a Tuesday night, and they had to rebuild him. That was the year. I was there. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. All right, folks. Thank you so very much for joining us. I hope you've found this educational, enjoyable. I have a lot of respect for Cheryl. I think that you're doing some great stuff. It was amazing to get to meet you in person, and I had a really good time. I thought that it was, seeing what you guys are out there doing, and you're doing it almost every night. I put the link in for Cheryl's channel. Make sure you get over there. You give her a like. You subscribe to her channel. She's almost monetized. She's getting out there and doing this on her own nickel every night, folks. And we need to show her some support and love for that. And
thank
folks,
you so much.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to bring in another element of what we have in the SPTV community as someone who's getting out there, and you're able to get out there. You're able to go do these things. You're able to protest an audit of Scientology, and not a lot of people get to do that. So I wanted to make sure that we're showcasing that. We're bringing you on. I had Lori Plays on not too long ago.
That was great. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it's just two old cops sitting there just rattling it off. That was hilarious.
Yeah, it was.
But folks, as I always say, if you can't do these things, you can't. All right. That doesn't mean you're not part of this. Does not mean you're not a doer. Don't let other people sit there and tell you because you aren't out there doing the boots on the ground that you're just a commenter and you're not doing anything. Because if you'll notice now the folks that are part of the grouping that are saying that there's commenters and there's doers, well, now you've got people who've done nothing but be commenters for years are coming out and saying what I'm doing is actually doing. So that should be proof more than anything that you are making a difference. If you're just being here in the chat, you're just watching, sharing these live streams, getting the word out there to people, you are part of this. So don't let anyone tell you that you're not. And folks, like I always say, life is short. You get one shot. Make it count.